The Collective Whisper Podcast with Simon Kane. Hello everybody, welcome to today's show. Today I'd like to welcome singer-songwriter Ultan Conlon from Loughrea, who is here with us today. Ultan Conlon has shared the stage with the likes of Jackson Browne, Shelby Lynne, John Fogerty, Mavis Staples, Bryan Ferry, John Grant, Eddi Reader, Griffin and Richard Hawley, amongst others. Ultan has also performed duets with Glen Hansard and John Martyn, and Martyn recorded Ultan's song Really Gone in 2005. Many of Ultan's lauded songs have received extensive airplay in Ireland on RTE Radio 1, Lyric FM and the UK BBC. RTE Radio 1, Marty Whelan Lyric FM and Eve Blair, BBC Radio Ulster, all deem There's a Waltz as their recommended album of the week. He currently has an album out called There's a Waltz and a new single with Gaby Moreno called The River Flows. Welcome to the show, Ultan.
Thanks, Simon. Nice to be on. Thanks for asking me on.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on. I had you in my sights for a while. I said I must get Ultan on. He's doing some great work there, and it'll be interesting to hear your story and your point of view on the whole music industry and how it is for you.
Yeah,
it's a little difficult, isn't it, the whole music scene in Ireland right now?
Yeah, it is. Before the pandemic hit, I guess last March, it would be safe to say it was hard then as well. The way, like 10 or 15 years ago, CDs would have been selling. I'd say you could have sold 10 times more CDs than you would, by 2020. And so you have the Spotify thing going on, which doesn't only generates some income for a very, very small percentage at the top of the pile, So I think anyway, Simon, the original music was difficult to make a living from. And then when the pandemic hit and gigs were gone, that's kind of decimating the scene really, because I know personally, for me, when I release an album or a single or whatever, and when it gets a few plays on radio, that's always a nice thing. But like that, I usually use that as a vehicle to sell a gig in Dublin or Cork and go and do your gig where you can meet punters and they can get a real sense of you. They can buy CDs and stuff like that. So it's definitely been very challenging. Like there's no doubt about it, because my record came out in April, the middle of April, so 1 month after lockdown. So like that threw everything up in the air, obviously.
For people who had scheduled releases last year, and then all of a sudden, they're because yourself with music releases, you're planning months in advance, even with a single. And the thing is, then you're thinking, okay, let's put it out in March or April, and all of a sudden this huge worldwide pandemic starts, and you're thinking, shit, do I delay it or? And then you go, well, it'll probably be here for another year or so I may as well put it out. But the emphasis is kind of gone on everything, isn't it? There's nothing much you can do. You just have to go with what you can.
Well, exactly. Like, to be honest, when the pandemic hit first, I had PR organised in Ireland, in the UK, in America. Like, so that was already, organised. I couldn't pull back on them people. The ball was already rolling, But like, to be honest, when the pandemic hit, I immediately forgot about the album because I was just in such shock as to what was going on. I retreated to my house, like, I think a few days before anyone else locked down, because, I think I was like that guy at the beginning of the movie telling everyone, get in or there's a shark in the water. I was one of them people.
The end is nigh.
Yeah. So I had an absolute panic attack about that. So I kind of went to my home and that's all. I couldn't think about the album. But then obviously a couple of weeks before the release, I just went into that survival mode with it. And like, I promoted the whole thing from my house. I did a video a day where I started chatting into the phone. At first, I was kind of, sheepish about it because I was out of my comfort zone, and I chat into the phone and play a song and plug the album. But I did a song a day for about 4 months, and like it worked really well. Like I ended up selling so many records from my home and posting them off every day. Yeah, and I think it's a weird thing. Had the pandemic not hit, I wouldn't have done that. And I don't know what I've sold as many actual physical copies now. Probably if I had shows, I would have, but it was certainly interesting to see. And then you see, you also had the undivided attention of people because they were all stuck at home as well. And if I was doing this song a day, people were tuning in every day, and it kind of worked out. But after a few months, then that can't go on forever. So then I stopped doing that, and then you just kind of hit a wall because you've no outlet for your music. You can't get in the car and go up to Dublin and do a show. Or I had a tour booked in the UK with Eddi Reader, like a 12-night tour that was something I was, hoping to get from Eddie for a few years. Like, so that was me getting to a point where I finally got that UK tour that I craved for about 8 or 9 years. So that's disappointing, You kind of feel like finally all this work you're doing is all this work you've done is starting to pay off a little, and to get out of Ireland and do a tour like that in the UK would have been amazing. So that was obviously all scratched as well.
That's pretty difficult because, especially as you said, if you're kind of getting up another rung on the ladder and you're finding somebody who you've been dying to play with, and it's a big deal for you, and it can really help your career, and then all of a sudden they say, oh no shows, nothing's happening, stay in your bedroom.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a shame because I know from before, like when I went to America, I went over numerous times. I recorded my last album there. But like anytime you go on a trip like that to do gigs or something, I mean, sure, you've got punters who hear you in the audience and you get a few new fans and they buy CDs and they follow you. But the thing too is you meet some great people and you end up getting stuff off that other gigs. It's impossible gauge what you can get from these things, Like there's probably a great few friendships there that you never got to make, as well. And that's kind of the sad side about all of that, when stuff like that is cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because like with music and everything, there's this whole networking side, and it's from the gigs and from those recording sessions you meet other people, and then you're like, oh,
yes.
Hey, we could work together in the future, or why don't we do this, or and the thing is, it's very hard to get that over Zoom and over, the social media, isn't it?
Well, you know what? It's probably easier getting it over Zoom because at least you can chat to somebody and get a sense of them, what they're like. But I'd argue that over Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, it's nonsense. Like you you have the odd relationship on there with people who you like and share posts with, and you might have a mutual respect. But like you have to meet people face to face and chat with them and get a sense of them, and some of them you really hit it off with. And I think it's more about that, Simon. Really, like it's like I know it's all connections, but the best connections I've ever made, in my career have been people who I've actually got genuine friendships with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And here's the thing, the problem, whatever the problems we had with Facebook and social media before, now Facebook is turning into this thing where it's kind of reactions only. So for example, you put up a song or something and you might get 2 or 3 people or hundreds, it depends, but that say, oh, I really like that, it touched the nerve, or it made me think of something and whatever. But nowadays people are getting a bit lazy and they're just pressing the like and the hearts and the reactions. And so you don't really know if they really like it because it's very easy press those buttons, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. And then we all fall for it at home. You see the likes are being hit, and you get that kind of get that adrenaline rush, or whatever.
The dopamine.
Yeah, you get the dopamine hit, like, and you're kind of thrilled for an hour or two that this post is doing so well, and then it dives, and so does your mood. Like I think we're all the same that way. What I did find was when I did the videos at home where I chatted into the phone and I was just having a bit of a laugh and being myself or whatever, that them posts did actually get like comments because people felt that was a little bit more real. So they engaged a lot more with them. But I guess I kind of withdrew back into myself after a few months of that, and I haven't done one of them in a while. But I did notice, like, if I just put up a video of me singing a song with no introduction, you might get likes, but nobody comment. But if you kind of chat and, people tend to want to engage that way. But look, there's still no, like, it still doesn't replace, doing a show, chatting to people after. and seeing people in the flesh or whatever, it still doesn't, like, it's a great vehicle, I mean, I wouldn't have sold them CDs, or got them kind of new followers and stuff had it not been for Facebook and Instagram during the lockdown. But I think it's obviously it's a tool, really, isn't it? And it needs to be used as
Can
that.
I ask you there, actually, just something you were mentioning earlier there? How do you feel now? Do you feel like, with regards to Spotify, that artists in the future will start walking away from Spotify, or do you think it's like a trap, in the sense that if you don't have your music on there, even though you're doing it for half nothing or nothing, that you're not going to get as noticed? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Sure, it's like all of them things. You kind of don't want to. You don't want to be that lone ranger, kind of. Leaving it, and because anytime anything like that happens, you just come across as, unfortunately, you just come across as being a bit bitter or something. So you have to even
Yeah.
keep up that outwardly thing of being on Spotify, being on all the socials and stuff. Like, I put it up there because, yeah, I kind of feel like it's another place people can hear my music, but it's a weird one. Spotify, it's a minefield, really, for me. I put up a single there in February. It was a duet with a really good, a really amazing artist from Guatemala called Gaby Moreno.
Yeah, beautiful song. The River Flows, lovely.
Yeah, and I met her in LA, and like, she's a really big name kind of throughout the world, really. So she'd have this really big Spotify following. So when I do the song with her, and she's featured on it, that means the whole algorithm thing on Spotify plays my song on different playlists and stuff. And like, and I've got a couple of friends who are on big playlists with a few 100,000 followers and stuff, but like, they don't really notice any great knock-on effect from that. Maybe a few quid, but like, you don't really get people messaging, "Oh, I heard you on Spotify." If you're on the radio, you'll get that. "I heard you on RTE and I heard you on Lyric FM," but like, Spotify seems to be this kind of thing on in the background of certain places, and especially these playlists, they're like it's like a running advert a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? So I think maybe when people are listening to these playlists, it's just there in the background. They see it as being one kind of component. I don't feel like go in and go, "God, who's that artist? Let me search them," because I know as well. Like, when people even who have massive Spotify numbers, if you go on their Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, it doesn't translate to that. So these people are not obviously going on going, "Oh, I like their Facebook," and keep up with them there. So if they're not doing that, I'd be very surprised if they were subscribing to their mailing list, or even more surprised if they were buying their stuff. Now, look, at that's maybe, I might be wrong there, but
I think you're right in that sense, because the numbers from Spotify can be all over the place, and as you said, someone can have a low social media account and everything. So, and the thing I think about Spotify is the fact it's free. For the majority of people, use it free, the free service, and they're obviously making money from advertising and everything. But the thing is, if people are getting things for free, they take it for granted, and they can like it or not like it, and they move on. And like, I'm kind of shocked now when I hear, like, 2 years ago, people were saying, "Oh, if you don't catch people in the first 30 seconds with your song, the song won't go anywhere." But now I'm hearing this year, because of TikTok, if you don't catch them in the first 15 seconds, and you're thinking, "Come on, is it going to be 5 seconds next year?"
yeah, attention spans are getting dwindling, ever dwindling.
It's crazy, no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is. Yeah. Like, it's a funny one. Like, I mean, I debate all of these things. Like, I deleted my Instagram and Facebook apps there a couple of weeks ago because I just did find myself going to it too much, and you're watching what other people are supposedly doing. It's and it definitely, I feel like it takes away from the whole creative thing, and I have to question myself and going, why did I get into this in the first place? I got into it so I can write songs. That's it.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like if I can't write good songs, then there's no point me being on there posting stuff. See, there is this pressure to be posting every day, and like, it's really hard to wear all them hats all the time. It's very, very hard to be a promoter all the time. And the reality of it is for artists now, if you want to be a full-time solo artist, then you have to be an absolute hustler as well, which kind of is a never the twain shall meet.
No.
In a lot of cases, I've become that to a degree, but it still doesn't suit me fully. Like you take a lot of it personal. It's hard on the system. So I've kind of said I need to withdraw from that, and I'm doing some different work at the minute. I'm doing like some special needs work where I'm out every day working with kids, and I've deleted them apps because I kind of feel like that's where the songs are. That's where life's happening, and you need that time and you need that interaction in the real world to kind of get a sense of things again. But yeah, it is. The whole thing is a minefield. Yeah, like you could discuss it all day and go into it with a microscope.
Of course, yeah, but it's crazy how when we talk about mental health issues and everything nowadays, I mean, social media is contributing hugely to it, because even for artists, what happens is they're kind of, as you mentioned earlier about the dopamine and getting the hit, we're relying on this kind of what support that's not there, and we're relying on the criticism, or whether it be healthy or negative. And the problem is that you could be feeling up 1 hour and down the next hour, whereas if you weren't tuned into that social media thing, you could just live a more normal life, write your songs and put them out there. But now we need to be connected to the machine constantly, because if you don't, what happens is your manager or people who are promoting you say, oh no, well, you need to be posting now 3 times a day, and you need to keep up with the current trends, and you should be on TikTok. And people are going, but I can't fucking dance. And they go, oh, well, you don't have to dance, but you need to be on it, So it's really difficult.
Yeah, and like we all want the instant gratification thing as well, like put up a song and get the likes come in and all of that or whatever. But like, the whole delayed gratification is probably a healthier thing, where you do the hard work, you go out there, you get experiences, you write songs, you record them properly. Like, but I suppose I have that fear as well. Like, well, if I do that and I disappear for 2 years, and I write, and if I disappear now for 2 years, but I write songs and record them well, my big fear is like, well, even if these songs are really good and the album's good, I come back, is my social media or my Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, is it a barren wasteland where people have dropped off? But like, it's all debatable, because on the other hand, if I keep posting new stuff and trying to come up with release a single every 2 or 3 months, then I know for a fact like the quality is going to nosedive. Like, so that's where I'm at the minute, Simon. It's debating like, well, what would I rather have? I'd rather take 2 or 3 years off now for the sake of one really good song, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
And also the thing is, like, I find this myself, you have, you're posting and you're putting stuff up on social media, but that's also eating into your time to write songs or to make music. And it's very hard to do everything. And as you said, sometimes artists and musicians are not business people, but nowadays you kind of have to be, because like, the thing is, you have to keep posting stuff, you have to keep promoting yourself, and then you're thinking, geez, I'd rather be just writing music in the studio or in my room or whatever. But you're constantly having to be checking stuff and posting stuff, and for me, I find it eats time. And even with me doing, whether it's music or doing the podcast, sometimes I'm like, oh, I hate this social media, and do I have to promote this? But then you're thinking, if I don't, any of the hard work that I've done is down the drain. So it's a really vicious circle.
It is, yeah. Like, and you have, no matter what, if you put something out and you're the one driving it, then you have to drive it. Like, that is a fact. Like, the river flows. Even when I put that out, like, I did my few weeks of that, pushing it, and I went to radio. Did very well at radio, but I was digging in every day. So like, people don't realize you're responding to DJs, or you're posting on Twitter, this, that, the other. But after about 2 weeks, this time I went into that job doing the SNA work, so that was a big change for me. So I didn't have time or the headspace to go keep promoting the song. And I did notice after 2 weeks, as soon as I stopped pushing it, it kind of fell off the shelf,
Right.
Another thing for me, because I thought like the song did pretty well, you know. But again, I guess look, it's hard for me to analyze it all now because I'm not going out doing gigs and then pushing them more, I guess. But it did get me wondering more and more. Going, is this what it requires now? That you have to keep digging in and sharing it on Twitter and hustling and stuff, and like it is exhausting. It's exhausting because
it's exhausting.
It's 24/7. Like you wake up in the morning, you're doing it. You're 2 in the morning, you might be still up or waking up and sharing it or something, you know. So yeah, it's a weird untiming, but I think it's good, isn't it, to dip in and out. Like I'm glad at the moment that I've retreated from all of that because maybe that's all it requires too is take a breather from it for a couple of months, go back in. But I don't know how beneficial it is long term to be posting every day either. That's another thing I would debate as well. Like I know personally when I'm on there and I see people constantly cropping up who I actually like in real life, you start to kind of go, oh Jesus, not them again. So I have to wonder, well, are people going, oh Jesus, there's your man Conlon. Like again, can't stand that guy.
I mean, there can be overexposure from everybody, but it's a fine line because you're thinking what's enough and what's too much. But the big thing I have as well, though, what I think at the moment is that you have so many like great artists out there, but at the same time, because of the pandemic, there are so many other people who mightn't be as good. And because Facebook Live is just free, anybody can post things. Like I was laughing there one day, I saw one woman walking around Go Shopping Centre recording what shops were open and stuff. And I know she was probably doing it for the good of the people, but I was thinking to myself, Jesus, everything is entertainment now.
Oh right, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Like the issue I have with the Facebook Live gigs is like I don't do them. I did a few of them, but like just as you're scrolling, on that, like it's like walking through Temple Bar with music coming out every window, or like you're off in Lanzarote or something going down the strip, and there's just people are coming at you with shots and just the worst places you can imagine, and Facebook Live is like that. You could be scrolling, there's a guy juggling.
I've even like when I'm picking out guests for the show, I'm trying to get guests that people know and that people want to hear and there's a genuine interest in, and but also people who have a good story to tell and people who have who I can sit with for an hour or so and have a good chat and talk about music and art and acting and everything. But it's funny because since I started doing the podcast, I got a message last week from a guy and he said, I'm such and such a guy and I'm a singer songwriter. And I was like, oh yeah. And he said, and I go live on Facebook at 7:30 every Sunday. And I was like, and I thought, is he asking me to bring him on the show without asking me to bring him on the show? Do you know what I mean?
Oh God. And like,
yeah.
Do you mind me asking, was he plugging his show or was he asking?
I think he was trying to get me to either ask him to come on the podcast or I don't know, was he trying to get me to plug the show? But I think because he saw I had other singer-songwriters, he thought, okay, well, I can come on the show too. But it's like everything. The problem is now the divide between the people who are really talented and are different and unique, and the person who's just kind of playing tunes from their house is getting narrower. I mean, because do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, look at the guy in his room playing the guitar on Facebook Live has the same production quality now as Bono.
Yeah.
If they want to do a gig, like the playing field is level now, like. But
the playing field is level, yeah. Like when you hear Bono on the Edge in the bedroom, you're thinking, oh, not as good as Croke Park.
Yeah, you're like, Jesus, there's all smoke and mirrors there.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It is. It's funny. It's funny though. But like what you're saying there as well about that, like it's just the trouble with it is it's oversaturation.
Completely.
And like the production value is so low. Like I don't know if I've ever been scrolling on Facebook and I saw a lad in his room playing a guitar, and it stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Or the hair stood up on my neck. like there's a reason though. I think for that, it's like, for one, I'm looking at that on my phone, where it's coming out through a tiny little speaker. It's the most compressed little audio file. There's nothing in that file to make the hair stand on my neck. There's there's nothing to give me goosebumps. Like that's it could be brilliant. It could be brilliant, but
The problem is, when you say about the production, I've watched some people's videos and they have everything like perfect, and it's the music and the audio and everything's in sync. But other people don't bother because they record it, so you're seeing them play, and then 10 seconds later you hear the lyric. So there's a huge delay, and you're thinking to yourself, "How I can't watch this? Like nothing's in sync."
yeah, it's Facebook is a madhouse. It's just become the Wild West, like,
Wild
Yeah,
West, yeah, for sure.
it's not really making any sense anymore either. Like, I mean, there's so much random stuff up there. I think it's just kind of gone off the grid nearly. It's gone into its own little.
What's really funny about Facebook, I sent, I think it was my niece or my cousin. I think it was my cousin a few months ago. It was their birthday, and I put down "Happy birthday, have a great day," and I put XXX, like for kisses, right? And Facebook banned my post, and I was like, they said this post has been removed due to whatever community guidelines, and I was like, what the hell? And then I thought, oh God, they thought the XXX was something to do with sex.
On a post that you just sent.
It was just like it wasn't even a post. It was like happy birthday message, and they removed it. And I was like, really? I said happy birthday, have a great day, XXX. But see, their filters or the software probably saw XXX and thought it was adult hardcore stuff.
Oh, I get you.
I mean, so that's Facebook now. It's like it's gone too big, and they can't control it, I think.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's gone wild. It's a free for all. Yeah, and like, I think it's important to recognize that too, and also recognize that, like, when you put up a video there and you see 800 or 900 views in a couple of hours, that they're not real views at all. They're just happen to be on timelines that people didn't even see. It's a big misrepresentation, and it's not. It's a good way to gauge anything, and look at not just music. I mean, people are putting up photos of happy families and kids, and you have other people envious of that, and it's none of it is. It's
no, it's not. It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. It's the bottom line. I mean, you're talking about mental health there. I mean, there's been more talk about mental health in the last few years than we ever got for the previous 30 years. But it hasn't improved anything. Like, it's worse things are getting, but it is completely down to the phones and the nervous and getting beeps every few seconds, and it is cutting us off from the real world. So yeah, it's probably the equivalent of people smoking back in the 40s and 50s. They're only getting to grips now with, like, this is fucking really dangerous.
Like, look what it's doing to us.
Like, there's going to have to be a bit of a. Well, look, there's no stopping it now either.
No, it's on the road. So come here. Let's go back a little. Let's talk about your early life as a child. So you're from Loughrea.
It was wonderful. There was no Facebook.
There was no Facebook. Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Did you grow up in Loughrea?
Yeah, I did, Simon. I'm from Loughrea. I'm from the town itself. Yeah, I'm a townie through and through.
Your parents are from there as well. Were they from the town, or are they outsiders from?
My father was from Loughrea. Yeah, the Conlons. They would be a real Loughrea family going way back, and probably even on the Athenry Road had some of the first houses built there, which is all a big built-up area now. That would have been my uncles and granddads built them first couple of houses. But my mum then comes from Mealig Aircourt, which is about 40 minutes away near Banagher, and you go through Burton and that. Yeah, so she would have came to Loughrea back in the day, and she worked in CIE in Galway, where my father worked as well. So that's where they met. my dad was a clerk in CIE in Ayr Square for many years.
Okay. And I saw your dad died when you were 13, yes?
Yeah, was I 13? Yes, I was only gone 13. He died in April of 1993. So yeah, I would have been 13 in March of 93. So yeah, he passed away from a heart attack.
Wow, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was. Needless to say, that's tough, Simon. Yeah, bolt out of the blue, really. Now, his couple of his brothers had the same issue and passed away before him. So it obviously runs in the family. So I have to be careful with the Supermax and
the whole yes.
Yeah, but thankfully, I think we've a little more. Obviously, we've moved along a lot more, getting checked up more, and back then as well, he was fond of the pints and smoking and stuff, and I don't do any of that, thankfully, not since my 20s. So I hope I've got a little bit more of a running chance than him.
Yeah, well, that's great. And is your mom still alive?
Oh yeah, she is. She's good. She's in Loughrea, and I'm going to go visit her today. Now, of course, standing out the back and say hello to her. She lives out there on her own, so I break that 5K rule, no bother to go out and stand out the back and say hello, because that's very important.
Were you an only child or brothers and sisters? What was?
No, I'm one of four. So let me see, where did I come? I've come third in the family. I've my older sister Helena, and then Patrick, and then myself and my younger sister Clodagh. So there's four of us. So my dad he would have been nearly 20 years older than my mum. So when he passed away, he was 62. He was still young, but he wasn't in his 30s or 40s, in his 40s. So he had me when he was 52. So that's
wow. Okay, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and was that when your dad died? Was it? I know it's always a big moment, but was it a life-changing moment for you? Did you have to grow up very quickly?
Yeah, you do. You get that kind of I suppose the rug is pulled out from under you. You're coasting along. Your childhood is going grand, and it is. It's just like it's like a force. Like you're pushed along way too soon. You do. You get this dose of reality that really you shouldn't get until you're much you're much older. So there is that time, and yeah, and you do I did feel like in my teens and even my 20s and that you do kind of feel like at that point you were suddenly an adult, or you had to deal with stuff that was just too much, So yeah, it's at that age as well. I guess you're becoming a man. There's enough stuff going on. Just got into secondary school, so yeah. Oh God, it did. It had a massive effect on me. I suppose. Look at the positive thing that came out of it was, he bought me my first guitar, and I was already kind of obsessed with songs and music. And the one really good thing was I used to retreat to my room to write songs when I was a teenager. Then I suppose that was nice. That was the healthy side of the outcome of that. But the unhealthy side then, I guess, was I started drinking when I was 14 or 15, and as soon as I started drinking, that made me feel a lot better. So unfortunately, that became a bad habit throughout my teens, and then of course you're gigging in pubs when you're in my later teens, and bad habits got created out of that. So by the time I was 27 or 28, I was drinking a lot. I would binge drink, like so many Irish people. I guess I appeared quite normal.
Yeah, you were when it's comparisons. Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, I said to a couple of people, you might divulge to a couple of people going, "Oh God, this is not good." I was, I can't remember anything from the weekend. Somebody go, "What's wrong with you, man? You're just good crack." So there was no going, "Oh, you poor thing." Yeah, maybe knock it on the head. It's sure, everybody, I piss my pants. Everybody does that.
Yeah. but that's the thing, isn't it? Because people, nowadays, if you said, "I think I have a problem," or "I think I need to deal with this issue," someone would say, "Oh yeah, well listen, I know somebody maybe can help you, or I'll help you." But in that time, everybody had similar issues. So if you, if they said to you, if they said to you, yeah, you must have a problem, then they're thinking, hold on, that means I have a problem too. I don't want to have a problem.
There was a lot of that. Like, so when I think it was a week before my 27th birthday, I haven't kept track, but I went on a terrible bender for a weekend and blacked out and everything. And I woke up the Monday morning, I was so rattled. But I stopped it then. I remember just saying, I am done with drinking. I got this real kind of grudge against it. I said, this stuff has abused me enough. You know, that was my take on it. So I remember even had a few cans in the house and I poured them down the sink. And I haven't drank since. You know, I'm 41 now since March. So that's like 14 or 15 years. So it's the best thing I've ever done. But I remember when I gave it up, people were bewildered, like, you know, and going, Harry, he'll be back on it, like, so, and like for years, people I knew would say, are you back on the drink yet? And if you go, no, some of them wouldn't want to know you, you know, but also, you were right about that. One of the things back then was, like, as well, anyone who ever questioned me about it, and they'd question you pretty hard, like, why did you give it up? You know, they were always questioning themselves. It was never me, Simon, you know, but to give it up 15 years ago at that age, like, was fairly, you know, it was a pretty wild thing to do, like, because
you were yeah,
I was ahead of the curve. But, like, you're right. I think if people knocked it on the head now, they would get more support, or be told, they're more aware that, yeah, this isn't good, or you can go to the gym now and get another bad addiction, or which the gym can be a bad one as well, I guess. But, like, yeah, it definitely feels like if you give it up now, there'll be less questions asked. But I remember for years, people questioning me, and, like, I was never embarrassed about it. I'd always just say, look, I had a problem with it, and if people had a problem with me saying that, you still get the very odd person when I say I gave it up. They kind of go, oh, you know, what's wrong with him?
Yeah, I remember myself, you know, I do this thing every year where I'd say, okay, for 2 or 3 months, I'm not going to, you know, drink or anything. And of course, you know, you're doing gigs in a pub or whatever, and, you know, you're drinking Coke or orange or whatever. And then people are like, you're not drinking, you know, and if you're going out with them drinking, it's like you're bringing them down. Oh, you're not having a drink. You'll have a drink. Come on, you better crack without drink or with drink. And you'll be like thinking, does that mean I'm a boring asshole without drink? And they're like, no, I don't mean it like that. But come on, let's have a drink. And there's so much pressure, and it's hard to get away from that, because it's not that the pint is at the bar calling you saying, you better drink me now, Ultan, or you're in trouble. It's the friends are saying, just have one, sure. Just have one.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, I'm so removed from that now, and I'm off that 14 or 15 years. Like, alcohol does not exist in my world at all, you know. My partner doesn't drink, really, not for any reason, only she doesn't. So, like, I've nearly turned into this weird prude about it. Like, so if I'm out and I see somebody in my company's really drunk, or they all are, I'm actually kind of shocked. I get that kind of thing going, like, oh, why are they doing this to themselves? Like, and you kind of do realize, like, this thing of good crack, you're like, no, you're on repeat, like, you know, so the drinking culture, if it still exists, it's a kind of sad one, to be quite honest, I have to say. And, like, I do remember being in my late 20s and early 30s and going out with friends and having a 7-Up, like, and you're actually embarrassed fucking drinking a 7-Up. Like,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, there's such shame, because you're drinking something that's not healthy, but healthier than the other thing. Do you know what I mean?
I remember, like, too, you know, probably 10 years ago when, you know, you're Erding or non-alcoholic, and they started, I was so relieved, because I could stand in a pub with what looked like a pint and not be fucking quizzed about what's wrong with me, you know, by somebody who's having a fucking breakdown.
Yeah, and I mean that's what you had someone trying to get stable in their life, being judged by people who are really unstable.
Yeah, isn't that's society all over? Like, so that happens everywhere in society. I mean, the ones running things are not well. You know, society is designed for them. It's not designed for anyone who's, like, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying that I am, but
in control of it. So when you were a teenager, then obviously you were playing the guitar, you said, around your early teens. But what other kind of stuff were you into? Was it always music, or did you have other things you were into, sport or other
Yeah,
hobbies?
funny, like once I started playing music though at like 15, and I started writing songs and I started drinking, that was like, that all became my world, like, unfortunately, because now as I'm a little bit older, it's funny, like I played football, soccer, I was under 10 and under 12s and that, and I was a really good when, when we'd be practicing, when we'd be doing our practice, I'd be like scoring goals left, right, and centre. And then the match day come and the manager put me on, and I'd balk, psychologically. So like,
You were like, I don't know why.
I couldn't handle the pressure. But like, it's funny, since I started doing the SNA work in a special needs school, we go out playing football at break with the kids and lunch, and I found this like, oh, why did I stop playing this? When I
Yeah,
So now I'm 40, and I'm kind of going, oh God, I missed a lot of these things that I loved as a kid. Like I supported Liverpool, but like that totally went out the window. Like I wouldn't know anything now. If somebody mentioned soccer to me or teams, I mean, the last guy I knew who played for Liverpool was Ian Rush.
Yes, yes.
So like, and another thing I was big into, Simon, was tennis. Like I was obsessed, and I actually, I won the Connacht Close when I was under 10, which was, the Connacht in Threadneedle Road. The poor boy from Loughrea with a shit racket went in and bet the guys from Salt Hill. That didn't go down too well with them, but it was a nice win for. It was a nice win.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And do you play any tennis now at all?
Nope. So that's another thing. Like my brother as well. Brother is a great tennis player, and fair play to him. He kept it up, and he still plays. And he asks me for a game every now and then. For whatever reason, I just kind of go, no. But now that my football career has been rekindled,
yeah, you never
it's
know.
funny though. I got out playing football for 10 and 15 minutes at a time, and I'm aching after. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard, especially once you get over 40 and you're like thinking, yeah, I can do this. And then you're in the hospital a week later with pulled muscles and hernias and everything.
Yeah. But it is funny though. I kind of, as much as I'm glad I play music and wrote songs, I realize how healthy it is to go out and play football with your buddy. Again, it's just like, or to go play a game of tennis. Like, I do love walking. Like, I'll walk. Yesterday I was off because I'm on holidays right now, and I walk 10K. I love that. But again, that's the solitude thing. Like, I go out on my own and I walk and I'm thinking, and I might get good ideas when I'm walking. But like, it's not the same as playing five-a-side football.
No, for sure.
For an hour. And maybe it's stuff like that. I'm kind of glad I'm reconnecting with certain stuff like that, and to go back to the Instagram and Facebook apps, like to delete them for a while and go play football and do a few things like that. You realize this whole mental health thing, there's a quick enough fix, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the mad thing about it is, when you look at things that are very simple and kind of look very easy and relaxing or hard working, you see things and you go, wow, I'd love to do that. Because nowadays, like, for example, I'd be watching these shows and there'd be like, whatever, these guys in Alaska mining for gold, or these people, living out in the wild. And you're thinking, Jesus, that life looks so simple. I think I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Because now what's happening is, we're living in this more sedentary lifestyle where we're sitting down a lot, we're using computer screens, so we're using our brains more. Well, maybe, but when you think back to how people used to always be and work hard, be tired, go to bed, feel like you did something with your body that day. Nowadays, when we look at that and we're thinking, Jesus, wouldn't that be so much simpler just to be out chopping down trees and stuff?
Yeah, like there's a lot to be said for it. You're right. And again, with the SNA work I'm doing, like I go in there early in the morning. It's hands on. You're on your feet all day. You're doing different activities. A lot of it's manual stuff, But like, yeah, and then you leave at 3:00 and you don't bring it with you. So then you go home and you cook some food, you go for a walk, you watch some TV, and you go sleep because you're tired. Like, but and like that's that is healthier than, what you do or what I do a lot of the time, where we end up posting something at 1 a.m. on Instagram, or you plug your podcast for the next day, or that's and like that. Yeah, you're on your own doing it, and yeah, sure, somebody's liking it, but that's not the same as a real interaction. And I do get you. Like when I was just doing my music full time, and it was just me all the time in the house or going to a gig, and you might see somebody for a couple of days. I get what you're saying. Like I get in the car to go to the shop, and they're out chopping down hedges or doing some roadworks, and I envy the guys doing the 9 to 5. I've people have said to me over the years, "Oh, you're lucky you get to do what you love," and I'd be like, I'm not great for hiding or pretending, because so I just go, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Like you have to be honest about it, and then I meet people who have 9 to 5 jobs or state jobs where like the teachers have holidays and they get paid all year. And I'm like, guys, you've no idea how lucky you are. You don't have to worry about the next check, or if you get a flat tire, that's not an issue how you get it fixed. Like when you're self-employed and it's all on your own shoulders, and there's no, you gotta push yourself to do stuff. Like I find, Simon, I get way more anxious than when I'm working 9 to 5, like, because I have my list of stuff to do, and some stuff I'm putting on the long finger, and then anxiety kicks in about not getting this stuff done. But if you go into a job from 9 to 4, something 9 to 5, and there's somebody telling you got to do X, Y, Z, you'll do it. No questions asked, and there's no anxiety then. So when we talk about more anxiety nowadays too, I think it's got a lot to do with stuff like that, where we're just not, we're not doing just more simpler tasks, getting them done, and having a more simple life.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about the special needs job. Was that something that you trained in, or how did you get into
Yeah,
it?
I teach classical guitar to kids. So I teach this Suzuki method guitar. So that's my own gig. Like, so if I get a tour anywhere, I can easily call all the parents and say, look, I'm not teaching the next 2 weeks. So it's really great. I love it. I've been doing it the last 5 years, and like they start at 5 or 6 with this method, and I've had some of the same kids for 5 or 6 years. The parents come in with them. It's a kind of Suzuki triangle, you call it. So I'm teaching the kid, but I'm teaching the parent how to help the kid at home with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Really
Yeah.
lovely. So I was doing that for 5 years, and I found I really liked it. And what I really liked about it was the interaction with the kids. They're great fun. I'm probably a bit of a kid at heart, really, myself in a lot of ways. So look, at when the lockdown was rolling on and on, I saw the course online for it, and I said, I'll do this SNA course without really, just to do something really different than music. And then the local schools, see, I'd know the schools from teaching the guitar, so I started subbing. So if one of the SNAs were sick, I get a call to go in, and I just started going in because your gigs are gone and stuff. And then in Galway in a school, a position came up for 4 months in February till the end of May. So I said, "Oh, look, I'll take it because there's nothing happening." So that's where I'm at, Simon. So I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know that I take a permanent job in it. I really enjoy it and everything, but whatever I do, I'll have to make it work with my own music, because I've come this far with that and invested so much. But it's a lovely job. Like it's very rewarding as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and now I think artists and musicians and everybody are kind of discovering, just to survive and to stay alive and feed yourself and your family and your kids or whatever, you have to do other things or go back to doing what you did before. And there's no shame in that. I mean, for some people they'll be like, oh, well, no, I'm kind of semi-successful now. I can't go back doing that. But that's not true, because, it's not about what other people think of you. Like, it's like, my sister is an actress, but like she says, there's times you have to go to the Dole office and sign on. And in those times, what happens is that someone sees you and they say, oh, I saw you in that program or something. Why are you here? But they don't realize that was filmed the year before. Do you know what I mean? So there's always this glamorous side to the arts, where people think people are making lots of money because they see them on the telly or on Facebook a lot, but it's not true. I mean, it's a big lie, isn't it?
Well, now more than ever, like, okay, 20 years ago, if you were on TV, then that means, yeah, you probably have a career, and there's only a few people on TV. But I mean, if you're on Facebook, as we said earlier, that means nothing. Everybody's on it. So look at, if everybody puts their hand up, it's much harder now to make a living as an artist. And unfortunately, musicians and actors are meant to keep up this lie on social media that everything is rosy. That's not, and like the fact that COVID has kicked in now. But like, again, I think it's good for an artist to get up and go to work and do something different and get an experience. I know personally, if I don't do this right now, like, what am I going to be writing about? It's just me on my own most of the time, in my own head. Like, it's not gonna be good material, or it's gonna be very, inward. You know,
The next album will be like, the first song will be sitting at the desk, and the second song will be lying on my bed, and
yeah, I feel shit again. Poor me.
More me, yeah. And this is the thing, because for lots of musicians and artists, when they go out and they experience the world and they do tours and they write about that kind of part of their life as well, being on the road and so on. So, I mean, if you're always in your bedroom and you're always doing, technological stuff over Zoom and every kind of stuff, it's kind of limiting your brain power too, isn't it? And so, like, your ideas.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's it. You're not getting the right kind of stimulus, But if you're in there, working with kids who need the help, another good thing about it, Simon, is like, it's you're if I'm working full time as Ultan Conlon for my art and as my solo artist name, Ultan Conlon, then everything is me, Ultan Conlon, and that is exhausting for anyone. It's exhausting for everyone, but exhausting for me. So, like, I think to go in anywhere and, like, not be looking inward or worried about yourself for at least 6 hours of the day, and looking after some kids that badly need it, like, in a selfish way, that's a good thing for me as well. Like, I'm doing that for my own good as well. You're giving something great, you're making a difference in someone's life, but, like, it comes right back at you. Like, so I think to be a songwriter, and that's what I want to be, that's where it all lies. I don't want to be a PR person. I don't want to be an internet sensation kind of, or whatever the fuck it is. But and the other thing, just to go back, like, about, there's an old fashioned thing really with people about success as well in the art or music. Like, I know if I'm in Loughrea and I go for a walk and I meet somebody I haven't seen in a while, they do this thing like, oh, you're still playing the music, you're doing very well, I see on Facebook, or I heard you on Galway Bay FM, or, being interested in that. And they kind of go, they measure success as being like, you're either massive or it's not working, So they either go, like, they'll say, oh, you know what, keep it up, you'll get that one hit now and you'll be like Ed Sheeran or something. You're like, oh, fuck, what, like, this is not what I'm. But, like, I always kind of think it's the comparison of going into your local little coffee shop that does really nice little coffees and nice sandwiches, and like, it can be really good because it's just all done there freshly in front of you, and then, like, the customer says to the owner, oh, don't worry, like, if you keep this up, you'll be Starbucks.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want to be Starbucks.
Yeah, like, but the guy in the coffee shop who does the nice little sandwiches and coffees gets really like, oh, that place is amazing, really smart. That's the reaction. But I maybe it's self insecure, but I feel like, people kind of go, oh, he's he's not Ed Sheeran, like, so in that case, you haven't met it,
Yeah, well, I'm kind of similar as well. Like, for me, if people say, would you like to be famous with music? And I'm like, no, fame doesn't interest me. I don't want to be. I mean, nowadays, obviously, with doing any kind of media work or music, sometimes you have to put yourself out there and be seen in order to. It's a vehicle for your music or whatever. And the truth is, though, I mean, for me, if I could have, like, if I could be successful at what I'm doing without putting my face out there, I wouldn't put my face out there. And I wouldn't, I mean, that's the thing. That's the hard part for artists. You see that artist, Sia. I mean, she covers her face. And there's a reason, because she's insecure about it. And a lot of artists feel like this, and they feel like, I'd like to do a video, but I don't want to be in the video. And the guy goes, well, you're the artist, you have to be in the video. And they're like, no, could we get a stand in or something? And I kind of feel a bit like that too. I don't really want to put my face, even though it's me. I don't want to be like, hey, look at me. I just like listen to the music or listen to my voice or whatever. But I don't want you focusing it on me, because I don't. I feel like whatever it is, it's coming from inside of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's more pressure then as well. I know that, like, there's definitely more pressure when it's all riding on you as well. So you know, you feel the burn more if it doesn't work as well. You know, I mean, the moment I'm producing a song for an artist, so I'm just, I'm going into the studio I'm arranging the musicians and helping arrange the song and getting it mixed and all that. I haven't really done this before, but one of the main reasons I'm doing this is because I love all that, for starters. I've done that myself many times. But then the aftermath of that is I have to put that song out, and whatever comes back, it's like, oh God. Like if you get a play, you're like, yay, I got a play on Radio 1. But 10 minutes later, like, okay, now I need one on Today FM, or now I need a Late Show. So it's this never ending thing. But like, the reason I'm looking forward to doing this, it's because I'm going to do the best job I can with it, and I hope it does well. But it's not going to be all. It's not going to be all on my shoulders. So
No. And when you finished your work as well, like the great thing about any kind of production, when you do the work in the studio, you can sit back then and see how the artist is doing with it, but you don't have to keep promoting it. And like, I mean, you can, of course, but you've done your job.
Exactly, yeah. So that for me is very appealing at the minute, because I kind of feel like, even though I've done well in the last year, people don't see all the kind of rejection you get as well. So like, I need a break. You need a break from that. You can't. I don't know what you want to be made of.
Like, because as you said, for every time there's a yes, there's 10 no's, and the problem is you just have to keep going, but it is taxing on your brain and everything, and it's hard, and you're kind of, it's like, it's not that it's like not a level of acceptance, but you're trying to further your career or further whatever you're doing, and sometimes you need help from other people, and unfortunately not everyone wants to help you, so you will get lots of rejections, and it's hard to bear sometimes.
Oh God, yeah, of course it is. I mean, nobody is. Very few are good at taking that and kind of brushing it off, especially when you're writing the songs and you're designed that kind of way. I mean, most kind of artists, they're going to be a bit sensitive, for the want of a better. It's not a product really. It is a product, I guess, in a lot of ways, but it's also it's your own output. Like, so yeah, you're going to take it personal. But funny, going back to the thing I was saying about the local cafe or the Ed Sheeran thing. I guess the other side of it is, though, like, as a small artist, you do want to make a living from it. You do want to make it work, and that's where it's tricky. Saying go the Spotify thing and everything, like, it's 20 years ago you could sell enough albums to cover the cost of the recording and to make some income. So that is where it's getting a little trickier. And I think going into some, like, be it like, teaching is a great thing for any musician to do. I know so many musicians go, I wouldn't have the patience. You're like, no, you haven't given it a go. Like, you have to do it, and you get patient. I'm not the most patient guy. It's funny, people say to me now when I'm doing the SNA work and teaching, oh, you'd be great at that. You're very relaxed and you don't get, you're very patient, blah, blah. I'm like, I am not. I've actually got a temper, and I'm short fused, I'm irritable. But like, you have to be put on the spot to like, go into a job as well. Like, you have to show up, you have to put on your brave face, you have to put on your nice face. It makes you be the things you should be. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's teaching, like, you have to be patient. You can't, in front of a 6-year-old kid, you can't smash a guitar and start screaming.
No. I've had enough of this shit. No, I mean, like, that's the same. I've been a guitar teacher for years, and for me, teaching like that is its own reward, because it's great when you see kids or adults or anybody and they finally get it and they can understand what you're trying to show them, and they play something and you're kind of like, wow, this is brilliant. So besides the financial reward from working at it, whatever, it's a great thing, when you see a child who's been with you for a few years and they're suddenly doing a concert or doing write their own first song, and I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, guitar teaching is a funny one because like that, there's the odd time after, it could be after 3 or 4 years, I sit back and I see the kids playing this classical piece and I just go, oh my god, they can play the guitar. But you don't see that every week over the years. It's like you plant a little tree in the garden and all of a sudden you go, Jesus, that tree is grown. You don't see it growing every week, so you do need the patience with it. But like, there are the odd little moments when I'm teaching where you sit back and you go, Jesus, that kid can play guitar, and not all thanks to me, but mainly thanks to me showing them how to do it. But that goes back to the delayed gratification thing. Putting in the work, and then all of a sudden, oh wow! Like, and it's the same. I think it's probably the same with the original music career too, Simon. Though you don't see it week to week. Like, I know I did an interview with somebody a while back there, and they kind of went through all my career, the different people I played with, the albums where I did it, and I kind of went, Jesus! After the hour of an interview, I kind of went, wow, I've done, that's kind of impressive. But you don't see you don't see that every.
No, I mean, it is like, even there, when I was doing your intro, I mean, you've played and sang with some amazing people. So I mean, that's a great achievement. And as you said there, I think when you look back on that, whether it's now or in 10 years, that will be a delayed gratification, and you'll get a better feeling from that than the 1 minute things on Facebook and so on.
Well, exactly, yeah. I suppose there's the whole art of patience then as well, and perspective. But again, it's so hard to see when you're working on your own and in, in your own head, and unfortunately, as humans, or maybe just me, tend to focus on the negative, you know, too much. But what, can't be too hard on yourself for that either.
No, so listen. Tell us, like, when you started playing guitar and everything, what kind of music did you listen to? Were you more folk or rock or pop, or what kind of influenced you when you were young?
I think I remember when I was very young, like a kid, hearing stuff. We weren't in one of them houses that had the record player or anything. We had a tape player, right? My older brother and sister, I remember, like, they got into Michael Jackson, so the tape of Thriller was in the house, and sure, that was just amazing. I remember, the TV growing up, Beatbox on Network 2 and or RT2, so that was amazing. I must have been 9 or 10, so every week you'd wait to see these videos, REM, and lots of great Irish bands as well, like in my teens, Revelino, the Dublin band, and No Disco. So you kind of, again, like, you'd be tuning in to hear these songs that you couldn't play back all the time, which was kind of cool as well, because when you only hear it once a week and you're hoping it might come on the show the next week. There's something lovely about that as well.
It's kind of like, it's like a premiere that you can't control, so you have to listen to it that moment.
You have to be, or else be quick enough to get the tape and try it or something, and then it'd be really bad quality listening back, and you'd be a bit disappointed by it. But like, no, I grew up like that. I loved the music videos on TV. I love songs. I love good songs. I didn't really care, about the genre. Like, I mean, Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer. Remember that video and the song? I love Michael Jackson. Then in my teens, Nirvana and Pearl Jam. I was into a bit of grunge music like that, and that kind of segued into Neil Young and Leonard Cohen in my late teens, and I started to mellow out pretty quick. David Gray, the White Ladder album that was everywhere. Saw Doctors, Your Neighbours. I saw them in the Temperance Hall when I was about 11 years of age. I mean, that was incredible. The Stunning as well. My sister was big into them. Loved the Stunning. I remember when I was 12 or 13, I don't know how my mother let me go to Fela down in Tip, and I saw some amazing bands. I went for one day, like Brantley Buffalo and Amy Mann. I think Elvis Costello was on. It was just, that blew my mind. That was like an amazing experience to go to that. So from there, like, I was playing guitar anyway, and none in the local convent was teaching me chords. And then a neighbour, this guy moved in, he was into Dire Straits, and I heard him playing Sultans of Swing and stuff. So he started giving me guitar lessons. And from there, it was just this kind of, it became a thing. Like, I was always in the bedroom playing the guitar, learning chords, listening to CDs, trying to figure out songs. Started writing songs at the same time. So they both kind of, it just went from there, you know. It never really left me, you know.
Yeah, and when you started songwriting, how old were you think when you kind of like really started songwriting, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I was writing little bits and bobs from 15, 16 years of age, and I'd say I was about 18 kind of, or 19, when I'd record them onto a little tape player. And I think there was one song when I was maybe 17 or 18 that I listened back to and said, oh, that's actually a song. You know, I accepted that's the song. But I up until my mid-20s, I was very in doubt about what I was doing, because I was kind of going, there must be more to this, you know. I wouldn't have said, oh, I'm a songwriter. I think I was well into my 20s, 25, 26, before I even said, oh, even though I was working as a musician, I would have said I'm a songwriter. I felt like a bit of an imposter, you know. So there was that thing. Yeah, I thought there must be more to it than this, you know, which there isn't really. I mean, now I can safely say anyone can write a song, and it's a craft, really. So I started writing, and I kept writing, and to this day, like, I I kind of feel like I'm getting better at it. I know that might be a bit of an arrogant thing to say, but like, I think structurally you get better at it, and when I listen back to some of my earlier stuff, like, there's bits you definitely go, oh, that was unnecessary there. I'd do that differently. So definitely craft wise, I think you improve, but whether you can keep a good sense of, like, you know, what you call it, wonder, and kind of,
Yeah, melody and so on. But you know, it's true as well, because I think what happens, like all these different things that influence you, you know, you might write a song and then you might say, oh, you know, that the song I would have written, if I'd written this song 2 or 3 years before or 5 years before, it might be darker. Now it might be more joyous. So the thing is, like, you go through these periods in your life as well where you feel like you want the music to be very edgy, and then later on, as you get a bit older, you're like, no, I want it to be happier. So I mean, your songwriting style can change a lot too, can't it?
Yeah, it can. Like, and you know, there's a lot of self doubt there and question stuff. What you said there about edgy, like, I mean, even I was chatting to a friend about this yesterday. Like, you know, if you're lost in that bubble online, looking at reviews and the Irish Times and other voices shows and all of this, everything is very edgy, you know. And then I start to question my stuff, going, oh, well, you know, I never get on these things, and maybe I'm not edgy enough, and then I kind of go try be little in my own little way, be a bit edgy for a while, and then I'm like, oh, fuck that. Like, you know, I think you have to be true to yourself as well, you know, and even like, just the best songs are simple songs at the end of the, you know. I think the best songs I've written have been simple and have a nice melody and a simple turn of phrase, and they're the hardest ones to write, you know.
The thing is, I think as well, what happens is those edgy songs and those kind of, you know, you see someone and you go, wow, oh, they're really cool or whatever, or the critics really like them. Like, the critics can just choose anybody one day and say, yeah, that's very edgy. So I mean, they're kind of like the church in a way, because the music critics and these TV music critics and all say, oh, this is an outstanding album, or they're an outstanding artist. But again, it's just another matter of opinion, and they just give it to millions of people who then are influenced by their decision.
Exactly, yeah, and it's again, talking about Facebook and Instagram. It's not a real reflection on things, you know. Like, unfortunately, I on Facebook and Instagram, I'd have a really good follow, and when I did all that song a day, you know, you get these people, and I got lovely letters and presents to my house in the Hansard, because they all knew this is where I was doing it from. I get lovely emails, you know. I got one message from a girl, sent me an email that her mum was a doctor, and she sent a message on Instagram for her mum saying, you know, during the pandemic, it's been very difficult, and she loves my music, and she sent on behalf of the mum, and it's really helped her through it. So I got so many of these things, and while I really do appreciate them, I have to keep reminding myself this is the reaction I need from people, or not need, that I want for my music. But unfortunately, you're on Twitter and stuff, but you're vying for the what you call it, that critical praise as well. You're like, oh, maybe I should be more, and this person over here might like me and promote me and stuff. And then I do have to kind of remind myself and go, no, like, you want to reach people who like music, the people who can't post on Twitter or don't have Twitter account. They're the people you want to get, like.
Yeah.
Who genuinely hear a song and find something in it. Like, I've gotten so many lovely, and they're the best reviews. But I need to keep reminding myself that that's my audience, and I have to focus on them and not on this whole kind of what's happening online, and yeah, that's again is another minefield.
I always feel that way about styles and genres, like, because we have folk, we have rock, we have pop, and the thing is sometimes as an artist, you're pushed into one, but you might want to be a bit of a few of them, and it's a hard thing to do, because the thing is, if you're a producer, you can produce a pop song, you can produce a rock song, you can produce a dance song, whatever. But as an artist, if you step outside your so-called genre, if people are like, what are they doing, or why are they doing that? And sometimes we have to be allowed more freedom. I mean, if a folk artist wants to make a dance track, or a dance artist wants to make a folk track, there should be no problem, because it's all music. But the way the charts and the categories and all of this, the labels, it kind of stifles people a bit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, well, labels are something that's put on everyone, really, and that's it. There's different cliques and different styles, I suppose. I guess I don't know what, if when you're uploading your stuff to Gaby or Spotify, they give you all these a drop down box. What's style? And I don't know. Like, I'm not folk, I'm not bluegrass. I'm not rock. I'm not any of them. So it's a weird one. Like, where to fit in.
Too many choices.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I can never find my category in them boxes. Like, and funny when people ask you what kind of music you play without hearing you, it's very hard to say what you are. Like,
yeah, it's very tricky. Listen, would you be interested in playing a song?
Well, I wonder, will I run down and get a guitar now and tune it?
Yeah, if you want, you can do it now if you want. Yeah. What are you going to play for us, Ultan?
I'll do a little bit of this song, Simon. It's called The Lumberjack, You and Me. And this was on my second album called Songs of Love So Cruel.
I was actually listening to this song yesterday.
Well, here you go. In the flesh.
In the flesh.
As close to as possible.
Yeah.
Along the way to the Galway railway station, with your brother there, so I can't say what I'm thinking. A right smile, we will meet in September. All political lives ended failure. We fell flat just like a tree. There was the lumberjack, you and me. But I don't forget or let it fade. Just like the sun did on that day. Gonna follow that big sun, sink below the sea. Let the night time in, put this old love to sleep. For all the time I held you close, so many more I let you go.
Really nice. Well done. Lovely. It's a nice song, that.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, it's a simple, saying about earlier, it's a simple little song, I guess. And one I haven't played in a while, actually. I don't know what prompted me to play that now. But
when you, like, obviously, you were having great success the last few weeks with the River Flows with Gaby Moreno as well, and I mean it was Song of the Week, I think, wasn't it, or it was number one there on the radio playlist. So it's doing well.
Yeah, on the chart, yeah. So on RT1, I guess over the few weeks it was out there, it kind of got the most plays, which is, yeah, it's a lovely thing for your own song to get that, kind of radio airplay.
When you look back now at all your albums, Bless Your Heart, 2009, and so on, do you see, like, is there a difference in each album? Do you change your style in some ways, or the style of songwriting? How has it evolved for you?
Yeah, I guess yeah, from the first record, definitely production wise, like I like tinkering around in the studio. That's one thing I love. I mean, I love writing songs, and I love getting the musicians together. I love recording them and producing them. That's After that, I find everything a bit more tricky. I find gigging tricky. I love gigging, but it can be traumatic. I'd still get kind of stage fright to a degree, but at this point, I'm well able to kind of chat to the audience, get into it. I think I've gotten to a certain level of professionalism where it doesn't come across, or it doesn't hinder the gig. But like, as far as songwriting goes, I don't know. Like, yeah, like my songs now would be very different from the stuff that was on Bless Your Heart. I guess you're growing up, and I'm writing more stuff like outwardly, about scenarios and people I meet or situations. I guess back then they were much more kind of introspective songs. Also, like the stuff I'm writing at the moment for what will hopefully be my next record, they're kind of shorter. I'm getting much better, I feel, at getting the message across in 3 minutes rather than 4 or 5 and 2.5 minutes. And they're kind of toe tapper songs I've been writing the last little while. They're fun. Like the song that was the most successful for me in 2018 was called The Measure. It was on Last Days of the Night Owl, an album that did very well for me. And The Measure did really well on radio. When I was gigging up and down the country, people were getting up dancing and singing along to it, and I was shocked because I didn't know, that it had resonated with so many people. And weirdly enough, the songs I'm writing now, they're a little bit more in that vein. And it's funny, like I do remember writing The Measure in a weird way, like when we were talking earlier about edgy artists and all these reviews and kind of that whole scene that's there. I nearly wrote The Measure at the time as a kind of way of going, oh, fuck all this stuff. I'm going to write something that's fun and a bit cheesy, to be honest. It's got that 50s kind of feel to it. It's, you could go out boogie into it. There's nothing cool about The Measure at all. And in a weird way, I kind of did that as a kind of a, I don't know. That whole thing irritates me a lot. That kind of that musicians need to take themselves very serious, and you take yourself serious, you talk serious. I've gone to places and met people in the arts where, like, if I smile or laugh, they nearly look at you and go, "Why are you being yourself?"
That's a shame, really, isn't it? I mean, because if it's like
it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
No, because imagine it's kind of like, if someone comes out and they have the whole Joy Division, Morrissey kind of angst, and then after the gig they're like, hey, and laughing and smiling, to go, hey, that's not the guy that was on stage, and they go, that's just an image.
Yeah. No, I kind of, funny, I wrote that song, The Measure, as that kind of a thing, just going, I don't know, did I get a bad review somewhere, and I kind of got my back up, and I kind of wrote that song as a piss pull nearly. But like, that song did the best business for me. Like, people loved it. And again, that's just kind of me going, well, look, this is what it's all about. Like, you want to reach people. I mean, there's no point being kind of edgy and all of this, but nobody hearing your music or it not really working or resonating with people. I'm probably a little bit too caught up in all of that at the minute because there's no outlet at the moment, so like spending too much time looking at Twitter and stuff.
So what's your, just let us or bring us through your songwriting process. I mean, if you're sitting in your room or wherever you manage to be and an idea comes for a song, do you tend to finish the song in that moment or in that day, or do you kind of just get an idea, put it down and come back to it? How do you do it?
No, I tend to kind of get caught up in a song. So if I start writing a song, now sometimes you might start writing a song and finish it in an hour, and that can be a great song, but they're few and far between. Like very rarely that happens for me. But I tend to I can get a verse and a chorus pretty handy, and then the rest can be a little bit of a struggle, or else just a little bit more work. So I tend to live with the song for a few weeks, and I'm already editing whatever I have. Like I'll be going, oh, that I don't need to say that there. I can cut that bit out, or oh, I'll say this bit a little differently. I'll start to tinker with chords, but I live with the song. And the song, I wake up with it in my head if it's any good, and it's bugging me. It's kind of on my back, going, finish me, And like that's lovely because it's not like that's not something I put on the long finger or on a to-do list. It's there and it's in your head. You want to finish it. So I tend to live with a song, or else a bunch of songs. I might have 2 or 3 of them on the go, and I feel like if it'll keep at me, if it's any good, it'll keep at me to finish it. And that can take a while. Sometimes I might revisit, leave it alone for a little while, come back, finish it, or and then it gets tweaked again before you go into a studio, or if you get to gig it, you might tweak it again. So they change, I mean, the songs I recorded on my last albums, on all my albums, when I play them live now, they've got a different life now, So I find a good song does evolve a little bit, and yeah, some of the ones I've written on the albums I've never revisited, and I think that's just a sign that maybe that's the way they're meant to be, just left there on an album, and hopefully people hear them, and others kind of grow and go with you, and you keep gigging them and stuff. But yeah, the process is pretty much like that, Simon, and it varies. It varies a lot as well. Like there's no hard fast rule for it. I mean, I'm going to be giving this songwriting workshop now soon, and I wouldn't go in there telling anyone that this is how you do it. There's so many ways to do it, and there's no real right or wrong. And as we said earlier, there's so many different tastes in that as well, and genres that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it is, I think when you look at it now, you can see on the internet and stuff, some songwriting stuff. And every songwriter, I think, has different ways of doing it. They might put ideas down and come back to those later on and start writing. I know that other people finish the song in that moment very early. But then the thing is, when in the whole songwriting style, someone say, I might write a verse and then 2 years later write the chorus. So there's so many different ways to write songs, isn't there?
Yeah, there's one song I wrote years ago called Really Gone. It was on Bless Your Heart. And then actually John Martyn sang a version of 2005. And then in 2012, it ended up on this film soundtrack where the actor sang it. That's been one of them, and I sing it at most of my gigs, and people love it. But I started writing that when I was about 17 or 18. I wrote the verse and chorus, and I left it in a drawer. And I think I was 22 or 3 when I came back, and I finished it. I did the second verse and the chorus and the outro, and then it became a song. But there was about 5 years between that being in a drawer, and it could have easily disappeared, But that has become possibly, a song that really touches people at gigs. It's weird. It's been recorded a few times, though. It's on. Geez, I recorded it twice myself, and it's been recorded twice by other people. But it's never worked in the studio. I find maybe the John Martyn version is lovely. There's something to it. But like I've gigged it live where it's been like, oh, people go, that's a great song. There's something that happens when that song is played live, but for whatever reason, it can't be captured that I've seen yet on record.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree with you. That's the thing about some songs. You might sing a song and people say, oh, you should record that song or something. And then it could be one of those songs where you're thinking, I'm not sure how to record it or how it'll work. It lives in that moment of being live, whereas you can't kind of find a place to put it in a studio, or like do I do it in this style or do I do it this tempo or whatever? Some songs are, even though they're the most simplest, and they're, they sound like they'll be easy to do, can be the hardest work.
Yeah, like again, I suppose that's the whole mystery of it, and that's why I never fall out of love with writing songs or recording them, because like going in to record a song, you don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. Like it could be amazing, it could be terrible. It's always starting from scratch. It's like now look at you live and learn with stuff, and you get better at it. I think, but I think that's the mystery going into record. It's like this thing could fall flat or this thing could jump out at you, and you have to figure out the best way to do that. So it is a bit of a mystery. Like I'm sure the right producer or artist could make that song sound good on record, but I haven't discovered a way to do that. And maybe it's a thing too that the song, it's so old now too. It's very hard to revisit old songs. Like The River Flows is an old song of mine, So that for me is weird. Like that's another song that people go, "Oh, that's a great song." They say to me, "That's one of your best." So I had that recording of it from 8 years ago, and that's where I got Gaby to do the vocal on it. It wasn't released, and I did my vocal, but it's very hard to connect to an old song like that, when you go to record it again, because it's not fresh, it's not new, and it doesn't feel like mine anymore. It feels like it's out there, and that's okay too. But even from a promotion point of view, I don't know why I feel like a little bit of an imposter releasing an 8-year-old song again, even though there's no big deal because so many people haven't heard it, But
I know like last year we released a new single, but that single we had been a 10-year-old song that was more of a rocky song, and we turned into kind of a more dancey, upbeat song. And it's amazing because if you have a song, it can find another life. So I don't think there's any harm, and it's for sure if you've never released it. For sure, it's still new and original. But even if you have released it, you can do different versions. I think there's no shame in that.
Oh God, no, there isn't really. I don't know why, but I guess as a writer, for me anyway, it's lovely to move on. It's lovely to keep the narrative going. Be it good or bad. I find that revisiting old stuff is hard. I know some people, maybe you should re-record these songs. Like, if somebody said to me now, here's 10 grand, go into the studio and re-record Bless Your Heart, I'd find that that'd be hard work. I wouldn't get out of that.
No, and it's mad there because just when we're talking about re-recording, you see there when there's big money involved, artists can do it, but maybe they don't like doing it. I saw there where Taylor Swift re-recorded one of her albums because the record company owned the masters to the original, so she re-recorded it. But that's all about money.
Yeah, no, if I was offered her kind of money, I'd do it.
You'd be like, I'll re-record everything.
Yeah, of course you would. No, you would, of course.
You did obviously as well the soundtrack that Songs for Amy, and you were kind of composing on that. How was that experience?
That was amazing. That was unbelievable. Like I couldn't when the ball started to roll on that. I was kind of dubious about it because I just didn't know. It all sounded too good to be true. Like I was doing a gig in Claren Bridge. Imagine I was hired by this bunch of guys from England. These stockbrokers were having a big dinner there, so there was like 10 of them, and it was Moorings of the Weir, the fish restaurant, the seafood restaurant. So they had this little room off the side of the restaurant, and they brought me in with the PA, and like I was stuck in the corner, and these guys were getting so drunk, and it was one of them tough gigs. Like, and next thing, the guy who booked me, they were hammered, and they said, let's go outside, like, and bring the musician out and the PA, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. It was a really sunny day, I was kind of going, oh, I don't want to do this, but they were carrying out my speakers before I could say anything. So next thing I'm outside playing for them, they're all drunk, and there's other people sitting around as well. And there was this lady sitting over there in the corner with a couple of friends, and she came over and said, oh God, I love your voice. Have you got any original songs? And I happened to have a copy of Bless Your Heart with me. And I said, yeah, I do. And I gave her the CD, and she had a few drinks as well. And she was like, oh, I'm making a film, and I've the script written, and it's about a songwriter from Galway who sends songs to his ex who moved to New York. And I was just going, yeah, whatever. Like, this nothing's going to come of this. So then she contacted me to say, a couple of these songs might work on it. And I met her and I met the people making the film, and it started to snowball where, I wrote songs for it. I ended up recording all the stuff. I worked with the lead actor, Sean McGuire, who played the lead role, for months, and we became great friends. He's the reason I've gone to LA every year. He's one of my best friends. They're expecting their third child, and I'm going to be the godfather to the child. So that'll tell you kind of, how you don't know the things that'll come out of situations, like be it on tour or a little gig. So I ended up doing this whole soundtrack, and they brought us to LA to promote it, and brought us to Cannes Film Festival, and it was a wonderful experience. Like I got to be on set and work with Sean and kind of, just advise on how you play guitar and sing and all of that, and help him sing the songs. And so that led to so many things, like, the connections and friends I met in LA, and my last album I made in LA. None of that would have happened had I not been dragged out of that room with the PA kicking and screaming,
Wow, it's really crazy, because that situation where you're like, oh, fuck this shit, I don't want to be outside now. And if you had put your foot down and said, no, lad, sorry, no, the other situation wouldn't have happened at all, probably.
That's interesting that you put it that way, because sometimes I get mad at myself for being a bit of a pushover, And there's a situation where it works to your advantage.
It worked.
Yeah. Because like if I didn't leave that room, I don't know what way my music career would have went. It really did change a lot.
It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes those accidental, pivotal moments can do something for you, and you don't realize. And I think that goes even for like certain songs you'll write that maybe you'll think that's not a great song, and it's a joke of a song for me or whatever. Like you were mentioning there with the what's it called, the other song you said, some songs you might write and you think, no, I don't take that song seriously, but it could be a huge success for you and change your career.
Yeah, no, that song, I remember sitting there. I don't really remember writing songs or how they happen, but I do remember writing that and having a little bit of a skit nearly. Like it was just a bit, and then it really resonated with people. And like I have to say, even when I play it to this day, you kind of go, ooh, now that I'm far enough away, removed from it, I can safely kind of go, that is a good song, from a distance. You can just look at it technically as a song and go, that's a good song. So no, it's things are, and I suppose that's the thing with the COVID hitting, and you don't know how things would have went had you gotten to go on that tour. You don't know who you would have met. It's so important to be out there, and that's how things happen.
Just a question for you. Obviously, with all the artists you've met and worked with some fantastic singers and producers and everything, but do you find sometimes in the whole music industry, do you ever feel like, oh, I don't fit into this world, especially when you're in LA? Do you ever feel like, oh, this is like, you have to be somebody else here? Do you ever find that difficult?
Weirdly enough, no. Like out there, I don't. LA is a funny place. Like the people I met out there, I ended up doing some shows at a place called Largo, which is an amazing venue. But like, kind of found the opposite. I found the people out there who are doing this for a living and they do well at it, they're all quite refreshing. Like they're all lovely people to chat to. They're very approaching that. And whether there might be an element of me being out there in the sun, and I know I'm out there for a short time, so you're a little bit more like, let's go for this, than you would be knocking around Galway. You're on holidays pretty much, like, so you're in that different mode. But any of the people I met out there, music wise, like the guys I recorded the album with, you couldn't have met a nicer bunch of guys. Like I went into a studio for 3 days with them, and these are all Grammy winning guys who play with some of the biggest artists in the world. And I didn't for a moment feel nervous or insecure, because they're just really hard working guys. There's no airs or graces about them. They all have jobs to do, and I think that's the difference. That's their career, that's their job. And I think when you're that good of they're great musicians, Jesus, but like I think it's as important to be a certain type of person, to do that job. Like if one of them went in there with a big ego and started playing loads of licks on the double bass or something, or playing all over it, then they wouldn't fit in with the other guys. Like, it wouldn't. Everybody knows their place in the song. It's a group thing, like, so um, I didn't really see that side of LA, thankfully, which I'm sure is there. Like, I'm sure it's there, but all I had out there was like really good experiences with the musician. Like, I got to sing a song with Jackson Browne one night, which was off the chart, and like Owen McCann, Owen McCann. Owen was with me, like, spent the summer out there with me, and we went to do the gig at Largo, and we couldn't bring our guitars. So Owen had a guitar, it wasn't great, there wasn't a pickup in it, and we met Jackson Browne. He was on the gig with us, and the first thing he just said to Owen, "Is that your guitar?" And Owen was like, "Yeah," and he said, "There's no pickup here, check out mine." And he brought Owen over and like, "Here, you want to try this guitar and stuff?" Yeah, and my sister was with me as well. She's on holidays, and Ben Montench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers was there, and a guy on double bass who I can't think of his name now, but he was actually is an amazing Mike Alessandro, I think is his name. Oh, I got that wrong. I'm sorry, but he was like Dr. Dre's right hand man in the studio. Like, he did a lot of the yeah, like this guy, he wrote a lot of 50 Cent songs and that in the club and all of this. So like, this guy is worth bloody millions, but he'd show up to this folk gig with the double bass. Uh, and like, tattooed guy, kind of Mexican guy, like, but just amazing musician. But as soon as we walked in, we were all a bit like, oh Jesus, these are just some heavy hitters here. Like, we stood by the side of the stage, but one by one, they just all come over, shaking hands, introducing themselves, and so, there was no experience. It was, but I think something that the Americans get that sometimes we don't all get here is that, like, they all knew that we were doing a show that night, like, and there's going to be an audience there. And rule number one is like, just make everybody feel comfortable. Because once people feel comfortable, you're going to play better. The rapport between everyone is going to be really good. That's going to resonate in the playing of the songs. The audience will feel that. So I think they're experts at that over there. Even if some of it is fake, so what? Like, it's great. At least it gets the buzz going. It makes everybody feel comfortable. And none of it was fake. Now they're decent people, but there's a level of professionalism there that is kind of, it's great to see.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's great when you have that experience there, So listen, Ultan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And, I just want to ask you, obviously, with everything kind of held up and everything, what do you think will you kind of do for the rest of the year? Like, obviously, you're going to keep working for the next few months with the special needs, but do you feel like you're going to maybe look towards doing a gig this year at all, or you leave it till next year?
I've just given up predicting stuff. Everybody, you just get tired of going, oh, in a couple of months this might happen. Like, I have a gig up in the Workman's Club that's been postponed 4 times now. I've lost track of it. I have a running joke with Vinny who books the gigs there. Like, I'd email him to go, that time again, Vinny, to postpone the gig. So that's happened in October now. I'd be hopeful it happens in October, but no, I'm not. I mean, a couple of people emailed me recently about gigs in June and July, or July and August. I haven't gotten back yet because I'm just a bit like, what's going on? But like, I'll do the special needs thing till the end of May, and but like, I'm writing songs, Simon. I'm doing a songwriting workshop. My friend Sean McGuire has a conservatory kind of school out of LA. So I'll be doing a songwriting workshop with them over the summer as well. I'm producing this song as well for an artist. And I'm kind of looking at doing a few little different things like that and taking my time writing songs. I'm not going to put pressure on myself to release something. Now, I've done quite a lot in the last year. Like, I did my album last April. I had a couple of 3 singles off that. And then I had a song out with Casey Teasby last October, a lovely cover of an old Elvis song, and then I had the River Flow. So that's a lot. Kind of, I kept showing up in the last year, and I'm kind of exhausted from that. So I'm happy to step back and do a few other things and not put much pressure on myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, yeah, that's great because you deserve a little break. You've done a lot of good work over the last few months and the last few years, So, I mean, hopefully long may it continue for you. And, I want to commend you on all your albums so far. And, slowly but surely, you're building your name up there as, one of Ireland's great folk artists and everything. So I think fair play to you for that.
I'll be Starbucks before I know it.
You'll be Starbucks. You're going from, well, you'll be Starbucks with that small cafe feel,
Yeah. No, I know, Simon, it is. It's nice. I mean, yeah, I'm proud of the body of work I've done, and look, I kind of feel like if I can keep doing it, I'd be delighted. Like I feel like I still have a lot to offer. Like so, but it's weird. I turned 41 there in March, so you do have this little thing of going, "Ooh, I'm in a different sphere." Now, you're a fella in his 40s is up against it. Like
Yeah,
it's
well,
not.
I think that's there.
Not the coolest. Yeah. What you call it? Your 30s are okay. 50s, I might get a resurgence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think though that's kind of the thing though with certain types of music, it is more difficult. I mean, if you're doing pop and rock, grunge, and whatever, maybe you don't want to be like Mick Jagger on the stage. But I think with a lot of folk music and everything, and kind of that acoustic music, you can play it up till you're 95. There's no problem.
And there's an element I really like of getting older in that sense that, like, you need to age gracefully in that sense too. While I'm writing now and the way I produce my next album, I like that it might be a reflection of where I'm at this age. I certainly won't be putting on Converse or skinny jeans.
No.
And trying to do something uncomfortable as wearing them. Music, I won't do anything like that. No, I'll do something comfortable and that's something that fits.
So listen, you might play a bit of a song for us to end out the show, would you?
Okay. I'm actually laughing. Converse and skinny jeans aren't even in. That's like
You're going to bring them back. You're bringing them back.
So 10 or 15 years ago.
So listen, Ultan, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We will kind of plug your stuff when the podcast comes out, and it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to hearing more from you.
Yeah, okay. I'll give a blast of the measure. I'll give you a verse in the chorus. That's since we happen to speak about it so much. Rainy, Galway, sunny LA. It's all in my mind, it's not on my plate, and I gotta die. Give me something to work for, come rain, hail or shine. Be taking it easy, but I find that it's rough. Got no money to pay for all that usual stuff. No, I ain't got a dime. No, I ain't got a dime. There's a time and a place and so much space to toe the line. Could this be the measure of me and the whole of you? I wanna get lost inside, hit that perfect groove before it all comes true. Get the measure of who we are.
Wow, brilliant.
There we go.
Thank you very much, Ultan.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out and thanks for asking me to come on.
You're welcome. Ultan Conlon, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ultan. That was some lovely music and interesting chat with you as well. And thank you for letting us in on some of your processes and the way you write your songs. It was really insightful and interesting. Okay, so moving on to next week's guest. Sean Keane from County Galway is described as the greatest musical find of the 90s. Traditional Irish folk and even country and blues songs all lend themselves to his uniquely style and forgettable voice. Growing up in a family of singers and musicians, he is known for his distinctive Sean-O-style voice. Sean learned the Sean-O style of singing from his mother and his aunts. Sean is a singer and multi-instrumentalist of skill, acclaim and flair. He is rooted firmly in All Ireland with the Keane family tradition of Sean-O singing. Sean's voice has untold depth, range and maturity. His skill on the flute, whistles and pipes with which he punctuates songs make his work unforgettable. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this week's show, and we hope to see you on the next one. So until then, look after yourselves, look after each other, and take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.